Good evening, barflies and lounge lizards, and welcome to the Atomic Snack Bar. And tonight we'll be doing another haul video since you fine folks really seem to enjoy the last one. Heck, it did better than some of my full episodes. And like last time, I'll be throwing in random video clips and movie trailers and things of the like. Alright, let's take a look at the stuff I've picked up over the summer thus far. First up, we'll start with movies, which I figure most of you are probably most interested in. And here we have Dinosaur Valley Girls from 1996. This is a light-hearted, fairly sleazy cave girl movie that tells the classic story of a modern-day man traveling back in time to find himself in a world full of dinosaurs and half-naked, fur bikini-clad cave girls. You know, the stuff that H.G. Wells was always writing about. He loved the fur bikinis. This one was written and directed by Donald Glut, who you might know best as a writer, not only from his books about dinosaurs, but he also wrote for Charlton, Gold Key, and Warren. It is also very important that I inform you that the film features an appearance by William Marshall. It's no Dinosaur Island, that's for sure, but it's a fun watch. Probably the most interesting thing about it, though, is one of the bonus features, and that's a collection of dinosaur-themed music videos presented in an MTV style with an anthropomorphic T-Rex hosting. The release is kind of worth it for that alone. Next we have what is truly a holy grail item. Something I never imagined would ever happen, but Bikini Car Wash Company, the greatest bikini movie of all time, got a nice Blu-ray release along with the sequel. It's been remastered and even features a commentary with Jim Wynorski. I knew that Wynorski had a small role in the film, but what I didn't know was that all the music video-esque montages were directed by him as well. And also of extreme note and importance, the film was written by and produced by character actor Buck Flower, who even if you don't know the name, you'll know him the second you hear that gravelly voice.
And I knew when I got this thing, I'd be president.
This release is quite nice too and comes with a poster. If you dig the bikini comedies of the late 80s and early 90s, this is a must-have. But what am I saying? Of course you all dig the bikini comedies of the late 80s and early 90s. What kind of uncultured monster wouldn't? It was recently pointed out to me by a couple of you fine folks that Shout was having a big Hammer film sale. So I figured it was finally time to pick up The Vampire Lovers on Blu-ray. It's easily one of my favorite Hammer films, top 2 even. But I just had it on tape, so to speak. But upon further research, it turns out that the newest release of the film is actually cut. So I ended up going to eBay and just getting the first Blu-ray release instead. Earlier in the summer, I was on kind of an Al Adamson kick, who you probably know best from Dracula vs. Frankenstein, and biker films like Satan's Sadist and Hell's Bloody Devils. So I picked up Blood and Flesh, which is a documentary by Severin about Al's life. And let me tell you, he was really an interesting character, from filming his Spawn Ranch, to getting caught up in a UFO conspiracy, to his tragic and very strange murder. His life was as wild as his movies. You know, when they make a documentary about my life and donut-related conspiracies that will lead to me being canceled, I hope it's half as good as this one. Now, let's get into something really obscure, and that's the Back to the Future trilogy. I don't care if these aren't the hippest when it comes to sci-fi, I think the trilogy is one of the best that sci-fi has to offer, and I've been a big fan of these since I was a kid. There was a very brief time when I would put my tape recorder up to the TV and record movies to listen to in the car. Didn't exactly work out, but Back to the Future was one of those movies in that failed experiment. Oddly, I have never owned any of these in physical format. I just always watched them on TV. Now, something cool I noticed in my last rewatch. There was a scene in part 3 where Marty gets dressed in what Doc thinks is appropriate Wild West clothing. He comes out of the bathroom talking about Clint Eastwood. Well, wouldn't you know, on the wall behind him are posters for Revenge of the Creature and Tarantula, both of which came out in 1955, starred John Ager, and featured early roles for Clint Eastwood. Moving right along, I also ordered an import of Season 1 of the Banana Splits, or as I like to think of it, what the inside of my head looks like, just without the bikini girls. This one was a bit before my time, but I do have fond memories of it. About 15 years ago or so, Cartoon Network started running it in the middle of the night on Saturdays. I was in Hollywood at the time living the rock and roll lifestyle, albeit a very tame version of the rock and roll lifestyle, and I would come home after Saturday night shenanigans and watch the Banana Splits. And at that time I was super into 70s stuff, even though I guess Banana Splits is technically 60s stuff. But either way, I look forward to giving this one a more thorough watch. Next we have an amazing find. This is a Bozo the Clown telephone from the late 80s. I didn't even know this existed until I ran across it on eBay whilst looking for something else Bozo related, as I so often do. You people think I have a robot monster problem, but that's nothing compared to clowns and carnival related stuff. Apparently this guy has 2 different rings, a musical one and a Bozo laugh, and I think the nose may even light up. But being that I don't have a landline, I have no way of knowing. It doesn't matter. This fine fellow is going up on one of my clown shelves. And yep, I said clown shelves. Now we move on to some photo books I picked up, and these are 2 from the Cyber Japan Dancers, which is a dance troupe turned Gravia models turned pop group. It's probably no surprise that I'm decades behind in pop culture, but one thing I have my finger on the pulse with is Asian pop, K-pop in particular, but I do have a handful of J-pop groups I like as well, the top being Cyber Japan Dancers. And these are 2 of their past photo books that I missed before. But I finally got my Amazon Japan account up and running again, so I was able to add these to the collection, and they are excellent, especially the holiday book. It's just really nice to see high quality pinup type photos in a physical media format. And even if you aren't keen on pop music or Gravia, which I think is how they pronounce it even though it's spelled like gravure, the ladies have a YouTube channel that is English subbed, and it is quite funny. They play all kinds of wacky games and go about important bikini business, because you never know when the bikini apocalypse is coming. CJD could really save your life. And for those interested, I'll put a link to their channel in the video description. I'll also do a quick flip through of one of the books at the end of the video. Now let's move on to some novels. First up is The Mad Gasser Cheerleader Returns, a novella, or possibly novelette, by Carl Witzman, a name you may recognize from the snack bar comment section. I haven't read this one yet, though I probably will have by the time you see this. I generally shoot these videos anywhere from a month to 6 months in advance. And I'm not even sure what the book is about, but Carl is exceptionally witty and sleazy in that kind of way that makes you feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Kind of like when you hang out in the alley behind the donut shop. You know what I mean, I'm sure. Then we have Dayworld by Philip J. Farmer. I have this little tradition that's been going on for about 10 years now where I read a new to me PJF novel every summer. So this year I started the Dayworld series. It's a really interesting concept. Basically, it's the future, the world is way overcrowded, so in order to combat this, everyone is allowed to be up and about only 1 day per week. For the other 8 days of the week, they go into suspended animation. And since each person is assigned a specific day, different cultures and trends have formed in each day of the week. And Dayworld tells the story of a wild man who not only doesn't go into suspended animation when he's supposed to, but he leads a different life each day of the week. I don't want to spoil anything, but it catches up with him. And finally, I picked up one of the newest Vampire Hunter D collections containing 3 full novels. And for those that only know it from the amazing animated film from the 80s, or its rather mediocre sequel, Vampire Hunter D is actually a long-running novel series. Part Hammer horror, part Dollars trilogy, and a whole lot of sci-fi. An excellent series and read. I picked up some games too. I wanted to make sure and mention them for the 12 people here at the snack bar that actually like when I talk about games. The first is Dragon's Crown, which is a wonderful looking side-scrolling beat-em-up with a fantasy world setting. It's a real treat for the eyes. Then we have Gal Guardian's Servants of the Dark. This is an excellent Metroidvania, but don't let the anime aesthetic turn you off on this one. It's one of the best Metroidvanias I've ever played, and that just happens to be my favorite genre of game. Alrighty then, let's start wrapping up this long-winded nonsense, but I picked up some CDs. First is Showdown by Shoya, and Shoya is a great all-female metal band from Japan. They've been around since the 80s and have some killer material. Showdown is their latest release and is most excellent. Then I ordered Eagle Flight by Revolution Saints, who are a supergroup who has featured members such as Jack Blades, Doug Aldrich, and Jeff Pilson. The singer, Dean Castronovo, was the drummer for Journey. And that's exactly what this album reminds me of. It's basically like the heavier Journey material. This is one of the best hard rock albums I've heard in a long time. And finally, we have Seventh Rum of a Seventh Rum by the world's greatest pirate metal band, Elstorm.
Blackbeard was a pirate, tough as old boots, sailing round the seven seas, the Queensmen in pursuit. They caught him off guard while he was drinking rum.
And if you aren't familiar with pirate metal, it's exactly what it sounds like. Though in Elstorm's case, they're more comedic with some insanely catchy and funny songs.
Your pirate ship can eat a bag of dicks. Your pirate ship can eat a giant bag of dicks.
Yep, he said exactly what you think he just said. And that's all the time we have for this haul. Well, except for the photo book flip through. And that starts now.